Hey guys, what's up? I am Rosie and I am bringing you another What Are These Songs About video where I tell you what certain songs are about based on my research. And today I wanted to talk about one of my favorite bands from the 1990s, Soundgarden. Now before I get started, I promise you that I will branch out, talk about bands from other genres and stuff like that. And if more people will listen to these and stuff and take interest, I'll be even glad to take requests. So with that being said, here we go, Soundgarden. And I wanted to talk about a few songs of theirs that I absolutely adore. And there aren't many that I don't. So here we go. The first song is Outshined. Chris Cornell wrote this song from Soundgarden's 1991 release, Fat Motorfinger, and Chris Cornell says of the song, "I don't know how everyone else feels, but I definitely go through periods of extreme self-confidence, feeling like I can do anything. Perhaps a fan will sense that, like in a performance, and the hero image creeps out, but then someone will say something however insignificant, or I'll get something in my head and all of a sudden I'm plummeting in the opposite direction. I'm a piece of shit and I really can't do anything about it." That's where Outshined comes from and why I'll never consider myself a hero. Of the lines, "I'm looking California and feeling Minnesota." In a 1996 Details magazine interview, Chris says, "One of the first times I remember writing something personal was on tour. I was feeling freaky and down, and I looked in the mirror and I was wearing a red t-shirt and some baggy tennis shorts. I remember thinking that as bummed as I felt, I looked like a beach kid. And then I came up with that line. And as soon as I wrote it down, I thought it was the dumbest thing. But after the record came out and we went on tour, everybody would be screaming along with that particular line when it came up in the song. It was a shock. How could anyone know that that was one of the most personally specific things I had ever written? It was just a tiny line, but somehow, maybe because it was personal, it just pushed that button." And I can agree with that. When a fan senses that an artist wrote a particular lyric that resonates with them, they can feel it, that it's personal, because it touches them to their core and it makes them feel like they're more connected with that person, with that artist, on a personal level, because they feel like, wow, that guy's really human like me. He goes through the same things that I do. He's singing how I feel. I feel like this song's about me. And we all go through periods like that. So for me, when I heard the line, "I'm looking California and feeling Minnesota," my mom and I were at a very good place in our lives financially at that time. And we were living with my stepdad, and he worked for the railroad. She worked at the cookie company, was probably about to start her job working for the state, because she worked with mentally disabled and physically disabled children. And so financially we were well off, and not rich, but just comfortable, you know. And at that time I was wearing like designer clothes, really pretty clothes, and name brand shoes for the first time ever. And I felt like, at first I felt like I was in a fashionable sense, but I was at the wrong school for the type of dress that I wore, for the type of clothes that I wore. The kids at my school were predominantly black, and I didn't dress just like them. I didn't wear bootcut jeans or colored jeans or the heavy baggy shirts that they wore that were buttoned down, or pantsuits. That stuff just wasn't me. So I dressed in jeans and t-shirts or polo shirts, or just something pretty that I thought was pretty. I dressed more me, and they didn't like that, so they made fun of me because of it. And kids are just cruel, you know, they're just cruel for cruelty's sake. So emotionally, and then at home, My stepfather was very abusive towards my mother, physically, mentally, and emotionally. He was mentally and emotionally abusive towards me. Not physically, but he did threaten me once. For more on that, you have to listen to the videos about my stepfather. But anyways, he was just a really cruel person. He was an alcoholic, and it took a toll on us. So that particular line, I knew what it meant right away, even at 14, 15 years old when I first heard it. So yeah, thank you, Chris, for that. And I would have been screaming that line right along with everybody else had I been to a show back then. The next song I want to talk about is Black Hole Sun from Soundgarden's 1994 release, Super Unknown. This song was also written by Chris Cornell, of course, and explaining the song's origins in an interview for Uncut Magazine in 2014, he says, "I wrote it in my head driving home from Bear Creek Studio in Woottonville, a 35 to 40 minute drive from Seattle. It sparked from a thing a news anchor said on TV, and I heard wrong. I heard blah blah blah, Black Hole Sun, blah blah blah. I thought that would make an amazing song title, but what would it sound like? It all came together, pretty much the whole arrangement, including the guitar solo that's played beneath the riff." And of the trippy lyrics, Chris said, "It's just sort of a surreal dreamscape. A weird play with the title kind of song, and that lyrically, it's probably the closest to me just playing with words for words' sake of anything I've written. There is no identifiable lyric idea." And you can kind of tell, but still, it all works out because lots of fans tend to come up with their own conspiratorial definitions of a song's lyrics anyway. So for them, the song means something totally different to completely opposite from what the songwriter means. And those are my thoughts. You know, you'll hear a song lyric and a fan will just come up with this conspiracy theory of what the song might mean, and then they'll tell you what they think the songwriter meant, and then the songwriter can come out and say something completely opposite and say, "I didn't mean that at all." And the fan will just completely just do away with that, and they'll poo-poo that and say, "Oh, they're just covering it up, but I know that's what he meant." So, you know, it all works out. You know, just play with the words, because a fan will just make up their own minds and stuff about what a lyric means. And the last song I wanted to talk about was Pretty Noose. Pretty Noose is another Chris Cornell penned song from Soundgarden's 1996 release, Down on the Upside. Of this song, Chris Cornell is quoted as saying, "Pretty Noose is about an attractively packaged bad idea. Something that seems great at first and then comes back to bite you." Sounds a lot like my ex-husband. But yeah, I can see where when you listen to the lyrics where it does mean exactly that. And I think one of the best ways that I sort of felt those songs' lyrics was in 1994 when I graduated high school. I received an academic scholarship. At first it was to a community college here in town, and I was set upon taking a year out of school to just be me, be myself. Sorry for the background noises and talking, that's my uncle talking on the phone having fun. But anyway, I was going to take that year out of school, just be me, be myself, have no homework, no stress for schoolwork, and none of that. But this guy came to the house and he told my mom that I could go to school anywhere in the United States, completely free, tuition paid, my supplies would be paid, everything would be paid for, anywhere in the United States if I would just talk to him. And I refused to talk to the guy. I wanted to take a year out, and I'm gonna tell you guys that was one of the worst ideas that I ever made. That was one of the worst mistakes I ever made, and I regret it to this day. Eventually, I did get my bachelor's degree in business administration in 2013. Yeah, from 1994 to 2013. I started school in 2003, and it took me 10 years of false starts and everything, and circumstances getting in the way, and I finally got my degree. And really, it's doing no good because I have this fancy piece of paper, $100,000 worth of student loan debt, and can't find a frickin' job in my state. Yeah, so that was the worst mistake I ever made. Attractively packaged idea. Staying out of school for a year, having no homework, no stresses, being me, staying at my shitty job that I completely hated, and just doing that. That comes back to bite you 19 years later. Get your degree, still can't find a job. That's lovely. Yeah, thanks, Chris. No, I really hated that Chris Cornell passed away. Who knows what other songs he could have come up with, even in today's landscape of political trauma. And yes, I do mean that, trauma. We are seeing some stuff that we never thought we'd see in this lifetime going on. You know, and it's just really bad. And he could have riffed off of that, and I know he would have had he still been here. So that's this video, you guys. If I think of some more songs of theirs that I might be able to research, I'll write them down and do another video. I'll do other bands that I've already done, and I will keep my promise and do other genres and other bands and other songs. But until then, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a like, share, and subscribe if you would like to. And I thank you so much for spending time with me. I love you very, very much. And bye for now.